Oh, there she is.
Okay.
You know, she...
All right, we're back, and the appearances are as before with the jury upstairs, and they have notified us that they have reached a verdict. Anything before we call the jury down?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Oh, yeah, bring them up.
We didn't want to do it until we called for the other ones.
Correct.
Jack and have him bring them down.
All right, bring them in first.
Call, text him real quick, and bring them down.
Yeah.
And I'll start them up over there. Is the TV going to be in there, Wayne?
Remove it, just shove it aside.
Yeah, that's fine, because I'm going to leave it 3 rows here. Yeah, I really want to see the
Yeah, you folks can be seated maybe a few minutes while we... What's that? No, yeah.
You don't want anybody standing either, correct?
There's no standing room. No, there's no standing room. And us, any of the other judges are welcome. That's the only exception. By the way, all right, members of the jury, have you elected a foreperson? Would you give your juror number, please?
54.
54. And has the jury reached a verdict as to each count of the information?
Yes, we have, Your Honor.
One verdict and one verdict only.
Yes.
Would you hand all of the paperwork to the bailiff, please?
This is the ones that you didn't know.
Everything.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. May I see that too, please, Mrs. Chairman? Thank you. The defendant will rise and face the jury and hearken to its verdicts.
State of Wisconsin versus Kyle Rittenhouse. As to the first count of the information, Joseph Rosenbaum. We, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty. As to the second count of the information, Richard McGinnis. We, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty. As to the third count of the information, unknown male. We, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty. As to the fourth count of the information, Anthony Huber, we, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty. As to the fifth count of the information, Gage Grosskreutz, we, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty.
Members of the jury, are these your unanimous verdicts? Is there anyone who does not agree with the verdicts as read? Would you wish the jury polled?
No.
Okay. Okay, folks, your job is done, and we started just about 3 weeks ago. And I told you it could last 2 weeks and 2 days. This is 2 weeks. This is 3 weeks. You were a wonderful jury to work with. You were punctual. You were attentive. And the forgotten six over here who had a very difficult job of keeping from discussing the case during the time that they were sequestered as well. All of you, I couldn't have asked for a better jury to work with. And it has truly been my pleasure. I think, without commenting on the verdicts themselves, just in terms of your the attentiveness and the cooperation that you gave to us, this justifies the confidence that the founders of our country placed in you. So I dismiss you at this time. You're never under any obligation to discuss any aspect of this case with anyone. You're welcome to do so as little or as much as you want. The media have requested, a number of media sources have requested the ability to talk to you, and they have been allowed to present presentations to you that you'll get in writing, and it's entirely up to you whether you want to contact them. They are not to contact you. If anyone does contact you and just tell them you're not interested in discussing it, if that's the case. And if anyone persists in doing so, report that to us and it will be addressed, I assure you. At the beginning of the trial, there was some concern about information and your safety, and I assure you that we will take every measure to ensure that your concerns are addressed and respected. I'm going to talk to you for just a minute, not about anything to do with the case, but just about that sole issue. And you, as I say, you're welcome to discuss the case as little or as much as you want. Any questions, anybody? Thank you so much. And you're after 4 years, you're eligible for service again. It would be my pleasure to work with you. Thank you.
Judge, you have to all go back upstairs.
Yeah, please. Or in the they can send in the library. It's not going to be more than a minute, or maybe it will be.
Well,
Yeah, take them upstairs. That's fine. That's fine. Mr. Richards,
Your Honor, I put judgment on the verdicts.
any word from the state?
The jury has represented our community in this trial and has spoken.
All right, the motion of the defendant is granted. The charges against the defendant on all counts are dismissed with prejudice, and he is released from the obligation of his bond. Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you. Good day.
I just sent an email from a bond motion.
Thank you.
By fighting on anything, it is a sign of strength. I mean, if I were the prosecution, I would have jumped on that without without in a heartbeat, because it was the best of what they could have ever hoped to have gotten.
Certainly in
So
retrospect
now it is
for them.
double jeopardy attached. Earlier before you came on too, I was explaining how I've been yelling about this, how it's been really frustrating that everybody's fixating on this video because it's gotten to the point where people who don't know about the other details and the other particulars might say, oh, if he's raising the rifle, he's guilty. If he's not, that's provocation. That's the whole case. Say some new video footage comes out tomorrow that shows, oh, he was raising the rifle very briefly. He forgot about it, but it's no big deal because it wasn't provocation. He wasn't protecting property. Zeminski was approaching him with a loaded pistol in his hand. He was protecting himself, and it was justified. No provocation. But they didn't emphasize that, so that was my concern about another trial. And I haven't mentioned this. Now that double jeopardy is attached, I've done a job exponentially better than Jim Armstrong did for the prosecution. And the video that I've come up with, I would probably convince 8, 9, 10 out of 12 jurors that he was indeed raising that gun. And it's still pixelated and it's still very difficult to make it. There's going to be people who don't believe it. It might be split 50-50, but it was exponentially better than what they managed to put together in 20 hours of analysis, whatever that guy did. So that was why I was, I didn't even want to talk about this until he had double jeopardy attached and he was safe. But now that he does, there probably are going to be videos that come out that show that. So I was concerned about a new trial.
Any
for that
chance
reason.
of federal,
That's why I was so fixated
given the loose cannon nature of this the federal Justice Department, any chance of
No.
federal
he didn't violate any federal law, and there's no civil rights violation.
Right, she only shot white people.
Exactly. If he shot black people, they could go after him like they threatened to for Zimmerman.
You never know.
I
with
have
the
seen
DOJ.
them. I have seen them threaten based on political alignment on a federal. Runkle, you're muted. If you were talking to us, if you weren't, that's fine.
Yeah, no, there's other people here, so we're just discussing the verdict.
Okay,
there's
sorry.
elation here.
I just wanted to make sure. But am I wrong in thinking that I've seen just deprivation of civil rights not being related to race as a protected class being threatened, at least in other cases? So I certainly could see DOJ intervention. I don't see them winning because the obvious problem is it's typically going to be based on race, and there's no evidence that he acted in any way based on any of those factors. But that doesn't mean they won't try and politically drag the kid.
There was no evidence that this was not a justified
right.
shooting.
Yeah, exactly my point. There's, if it's politically expedient for Merrick Garland to offer a probe into the civil rights violations of Kyle Rittenhouse, then he certainly could do that.
Yeah, never undersell the politics. You can't beat the ride, right? Regardless, from the political perspective.
You got to, I mean, people above and beyond the verdict, imagine the fallout that is necessarily or potentially going to occur now. Groskraut's $10 million lawsuit is gone, and there's no secret settlement that's happening there. The question is going to be whether or not there will be malicious prosecution or some investigation, ethics complaint against Binger for some of the shenanigans they pulled.
There should be.
There absolutely should be.
Yeah, putting the brothers on the
I have
stand,
my
knowing
doubts.
that they were lying.
Oh, perjury for some of the witnesses, Sal and Sam. I mean, I don't know. I don't necessarily ever think it's necessary to go after the witnesses for whatever. I mean, that's broadening it out a little more. But Binger getting the witnesses to lie and Darth Crypto. You
How about
pointed out
witness
well.
intimidation for Nathan DeBruin?
God,
we forgot about that.
Suborning
I haven't
perjury.
forgotten about. He's still my favorite witness.
And what was up
He was
with,
great.
with Krause having a little he honestly sounded like a high school girl having a little tantrum about this journalist that picks on him in the DA's office.
That's the Kenosha County
too. Why are you talking about this?
I hope for his sake that he hasn't been watching the stream then.
I hope he has. I
did it
hope
with
that
Pedro, he
he
did it in his
feels
rebuttal.
deep shame.
What really is encouraging here is that there was jurors who recognized the very obvious truth. I think you could make the case the defense proved self-defense beyond a reasonable doubt, let alone the state's failure to prove the opposite. I think the facts are so clear, and we'll find out for sure what they went had on. to. They had Yeah, we'll to find out get what 12 we'll unanimous probably in their find out favor. what went on in that jury room, but I wonder if that was what happened. We had to convince this holdout.
3.5
that it was-
days is interesting
The defense
for
proved their
for
case.
full acquittal.
It's
Yeah.
it's 4.5 days. It's on.
It's
Today
Tuesday,
is
Wednesday,
4.
Thursday. It's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then half of Friday.
I'm
Yeah,
we're
no,
gonna find out.
oh, go ahead, Viva.
No, I was just gonna say we're gonna find out because these jurors, they're gonna get past the threats because I think they're gonna feel some backlash, but I don't think it's gonna be what the media painted it out to be or predicted it to be, because I think part of the terror is sort of terrorizing them with the advanced terror. I don't think they're gonna feel what the media was predicting, but they're gonna quickly realize that they're gonna have some very lucrative stories to tell, and we're gonna find out what happened behind closed doors.
Well, I think the point that was made that this was a 4-day deliberation, I don't want to say that they were doing anything behind the scenes necessarily, but there is a certain amount of safety in this was not a snap decision by the jury. And in terms of that backlash or whatever, you can't, we spent 4 days looking at it to arrive at that decision.
Well, and I think the one person who's been consistently right about the jury is Barnes.
Catch you later, Darth.
Before I head out, I'm just curious, what's your guys' take, yes or no, on riots? How bad?
No riots.
I think maybe some minor unrest. I don't think there's anything. We haven't seen indication that there would be anything like what was going on in Kenosha during the Floyd stuff.
I think they're
A
going
few
to
people
try to
pointed
stop
out
it,
it's daytime.
and
It's
I
daytime.
don't think it's going to get big enough. I don't think it's going to grow into anything large enough. Although, incidentally, for those who don't know, before I go, last year when the original events happened in Kenosha, in addition to my crypto account where I'm a crypto day trader and I teach people how to trade, so that was a separate account. I had another account on Twitter where I covered riots and I posted everybody's videos and stuff like that. That account blew up when the shooting happened with Kyle, and a bunch of analyses of the video. I identified Zeminski before anybody. I posted his Pornhub account, and it was crazy. And the New York Times, Christian Tibbert, reached out to me because they were putting together their timeline. So my presence in that scene blew up because of the shootings in Kenosha. And a year later, a new account, because I got banned after Trump retweeted me, which is like a death sentence for your Twitter account. And now all over again, I'm kind of blowing up again from the exact same thing, which is just kind of crazy. So I will say, I hope that tonight I don't have a repeat of that. I hope that repeating of the past doesn't happen again tonight with the violence. But if it does, I'll be posting about it. So
if you do get yeeted off of Twitter, off of this account, just follow us all
Yeah,
again.
let us know what your
Yeah,
new
I'll
account is.
Yeah, must.
Darth, I don't know if you have a locals account, but I'll send you some contacts so you can open up there and not have to worry about that. But you did
Also
good stuff.
good
I mean,
idea.
And you
No,
should.
no, I'm gonna start a new round of accounts separated from my crypto and day trading work and everything, and do stuff like this anyway because I enjoy doing it and I'm good at it. So I will stay in touch if I do get banned, so you guys can find me. But let's hope that doesn't happen.
All right, buddy.
Right,
Peace.
have a good one.
Peace.
Thanks for having me.
So do the defense lawyers now get to come out and say, "Shut up, Nick, you've been on TV nonstop for 2 weeks"?
You should come out of the stream and say, "Why are you complaining?"
They're welcome.
If the defense
They-
lawyers want to
no,
join
my
this
man,
group
do
and
they
tell us how
come
great
out
they
and
are,
say-
that'd be fun.
Yeah, you see, we knew what we were doing. We knew what we were doing.
there were
Their
there,
hand
look,
on the
if-
wheel the whole time.
If Richards wants to come on here and be like, you see, we had this in the bag the whole time. You guys are wrong. I'm going to dress you down in front. He can dress me down in front of anybody.
You thought
I will
this whole case
praise.
was a bunch of havoc.
And this is the thing. We all have disagreements with how, and Ron, you talked about this. I loved your tweet the other night. We all have disagreements with how this was conducted. At the end of the day, the guy with the red well, the guy with the file, the guy with the client got the acquittal, no matter what we say about it.
Absolutely.
And to Kurt's point, you mentioned this like 30 minutes ago as I've been going, trying to get a word in, but they did put the facts down to support this. The facts were always in Kyle's favor, but to their credit, they put the facts in front of the jury. That's one thing they did do, and they got good facts out there. We have tactical disagreements. We might have been annoyed that they got that the state got evidence in that shouldn't have come in, but to the defense's credit, they put the facts on the record necessary for a self-defense acquittal, and they got it. They got exactly what they needed to do.
I'll just say one thing. Some mistakes are, well, some disagreement is strategy. Some of it's like gray zone parenting. Like I say with parents, it's like there are no right or wrong answers, just disagreement. But then there are certain objective mistakes, which there is no strategic benefit to having risked it in the first place. The motion for mistrial without prejudice that Sheriff Fisi put in verbally, that could have ended it before the jury if they pounced on it and said, yes, we're done deal. No strategic benefit to that.
And the state should have. The state should have done it.
And I can't think of any other disagreement we may have had with counsel that was objective. No strategizing. The admission of the evidence, the failing to object. Some people could see that, not looking antagonistic, not looking like you're trying to prevent evidence from getting in might make you look better to the jury. Like we can agree to disagree on that. But that motion for mistrial without prejudice, inexplicable. And
the only strategic benefit to it is that Kyle's ahead of the game. And if you were certain that he was going to be acquitted, if you're 100% on that, you want the acquittal rather than the mistrial with prejudice. Because when he's going out and putting his name out there and saying, listen, I was cleared. I am an innocent man. Not because there's going to be already all the rhetoric about bad judge and all of this.
He's going to get it anyway. Oh, we got to welcome back Mr. Jack. What's going on, buddy?
Jack, what's new?
To all the people out there who are so upset about this, the salt mines are open, the tears streaming down your
faces. They're not watching this stream, Jack.
The lies are gone.
Those people
I know
are not
you're
watching
probably
this stream.
sitting there thinking, how can I sleep tonight with Kyle Rittenhouse at large? How will I ever get to sleep staring at the walls, staring at the ceiling, contemplating oblivion, contemplating your own existence and contemplating your own poor life choices? Well, I'll tell you, it's quite simple. You just go to mypillow.com. You use promo code POSO for the up to 65% off. And even you, a doubter and a liar and a spreader of false narratives about this young man, can still get a good sleep tonight. And so that is my offer to bring all of America together. And we all at least unite over a good night's sleep.
God!
I defer the grift skills. I defer on the grift skills.
Yeah, Joe, I thought you were our grifter here, man.
Everyone
come on.
say that I'm like the major.
Jack
grifter.
comes on, it's a whole new ball game. Who are we kidding?
Jack takes to a whole new level.
I love how Jack, he sends me a message. He's like, oh, my connection dropped. And now we find out exactly how that connection dropped was so he could run another MyPillow plug. Amazing.
It was. No,
Welcome,
I had
Ty.
to check in with Lindell. While I was in the meeting, the press is going double because we're going to be doing the Kyle Rittenhouse specials. To me, honestly, like all that aside, we were talking white pills earlier, right? What a white pill, right? This showed us the difference. This showed us the difference between Can a jury be swayed when you have this much evidence in front of you? Can 12 people of different backgrounds, and Barnes and Barris have talked all about the class issues that play here and so many different issues in that town. So you've got clear evidence on one hand, and you've got a mainstream media that spends 14 months putting their finger on the scales of justice with their narratives. And I'm sure that, you turn on MSNBC tonight and Joy Reid's going to be screaming proof of systemic racism. For them, it was like a win-win because, if he's found guilty, they would say we got the guy. If he was found not guilty, Joy Reid would say, oh, it's proof of systemic racism, right? That's I don't know. I got into it with Kendi a little while ago, but when it really comes down to it, when you put 12 people in that room and you show them clear evidence, and I think it's a great barometer of where we are as a country to be able to say, look, there is clear evidence here. And I guarantee you that you had some people in that room that said, lady, juror 54, I will sit here until my dying breath if you try to make me put, my name on that to say that this kid was guilty, because I can see it.
The interesting thing is, let's just assume that we're all operating on the same, that it's accurate, that jury 54 was the activist one who wanted something of a conviction. Knowing well that if there's 11 people say you're nuts, and if you are the one who provokes a mistrial or a hung jury, it's going to come out and you're not going to look like the hero you think you're going to look like.
Yeah,
then
there's going to be social pressure there.
Yeah, no, it's but can you just imagine how clean and fresh the air is going to smell for Kyle now walking out of that courthouse?
Well, that being said, and I don't know if you guys have said this yet, but number one, pray for Kenosha tonight, and number two, get Kyle out of Kenosha, get him out of the state, cross state lines, Kyle.
Texas,
right now.
Texas.
A few state lines, maybe.
Kyle got on my couch.
I just want to point out on August 25th, 2020, Kyle had a mob chasing him, and they chased him for 14 months. That same mob finally stops chasing him on November 19, 2021.
Well, I don't know if they've stopped chasing him,
that's right.
realistically.
That's
All the doubters can get wrecked. All the doubters can get wrecked.
Yes. Yeah, his life is about to is going to take off now.
I'm gonna make my prediction. By the way, I don't think there's going to be riots tonight. I don't think there is going to be anything of what the media was hyping up was going to be.
It's really cold up there.
Well, it's not just that. The media weaponizes the fear as much as they weaponize the harassment. So they weaponize the fear of harassment in order to get the result they want. When I don't think it was a reasonable prospect one way or the other. You have a dwindling amount of people who are as shocked now as they were the evening they were told that an active shooter was targeting black activists at a Black Lives Matter. So, but they were using that fear, the harassment, the fear of death threats to get the result they wanted. It's going to fade off quickly now. And I think the attention is going to shift over to the McMichaels because they'll probably have a much easier chance getting the verdict they wanted here in the McMichaels case.
Just so we know what's going on the screen, I have it muted, but the cameras are leading ahead of the, we can say it judicially now, the assailants' families are here. Huber's dad, Huber's great aunt are pictured on the screen right now. So there are other people involved with the assailants. They are not victims. They are not victims. This is a self-defense case. They are assailants.
And you got to feel bad for these families too, right? You got to. I mean,
you do.
Obviously, if someone lost their kid that way, no parent wants that, right? No parent wants that for the kids.
No, and nobody.
You got to pray for these guys too.
And
the families.
No one on our side is. That's a parent's worst nightmare.
Nope, and I said that when when Huber flipped off the courtroom, when Huber's dad flipped off the courtroom. In one of the pretrial hearings,
right. Yeah,
I said, this guy in his mind, his kid is dead, and the court isn't giving him justice. So when I say assailants, I don't mean it against the families in any way. It's the reality.
Look,
unfortunately.
I pulled up Huber's Instagram at one point, which is still up, by the way. Funny enough, and it is some weird stuff on there. Weird stuff, occult stuff, and just a lot of skateboard stuff. Actually, believe it or not.
Not to make light of the misery, and Pozo. I mean, thank you for saying it because nobody takes pleasure in the suffering of others. It is just the case now. The jury's going to now hear what Huber, had done as a person, what Rosenbaum had done as a person, and not that their past criminal history justifies what happened to them that night, but the father's there flipping off the court. Is the grandmother there who Huber threatened to kill? And a lot of the times in these family situations, they know there's a problem. It culminates in something else independent. And it's a lot easier to blame Rittenhouse than it is to blame what was going on that led these people to live these lives in the first place.
Real quick before, because I don't have a lot of time, but I just want to say, I know you guys were, obviously have been quite critical of the defense as well as the prosecutors in this. But, one thing I want to say is all of this evidence that the reason Kyle got out of this is because of the video evidence. And that video evidence, Richie McGinnis, Drew Hernandez, Elijah Schaefer, Shelby Talcott, Julio Rosas. I'm probably missing some of the names, but just all live streamers. And like, you really have a dynamic here where
Thanks
it's
to the
independent
FBI.
media
Don't leave out
versus
the
corporate
FBI,
media,
Jack.
right? Sorry, Ron?
Don't leave out the FBI. I mean, where would we be?
The FBI. God bless the FBI. God bless the intrepid people of the FBI who, where, for 14 months, they sat on this stuff until I was the one who obtained the video and then broadcast it for the world to see.
Well, they were busy going
had
after
all
parents
this
who
from
are
the
getting
from the
snippy with
infrared
school
because they don't want
boards.
us to know that they've been tracking these for a year. But you look at it, you really do have a situation where it's independent media and the people who went out and put their lives on the line, they got the truth versus the corporate media that's been lying about it for 14 years or 14 months. And guess what happened? The independent media won because you know what? They were telling the truth and they had the facts on their side.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You probably already
That's what
talked about
won
this,
this.
but what
There
happens?
I don't think it was any one specific legal argument, to be honest. No offense to, obviously I'm not like the only non-lawyer here, but I really do think it was that video evidence that swayed people.
Of course.
Well,
of course.
Yeah, that's everyone that I've talked to that started off with an opinion against Kyle. They said I saw the video evidence and then I realized, oh, he wasn't the aggressor. He was actually being chased.
Oh,
and
and there's that brilliant moment.
More surveillance.
Hey, we live in a
moment
mass
on
surveillance
Cross.
community now, right? It's happened, right? We didn't. That's what Orwell didn't necessarily predict, right? Was that it was going to come? He thought it would come all from the government, but what ended up happening was we have mass surveillance from one another, right? So so we live in a world now that's governed by viral videos, and so the question then becomes, are we going to always react to them? Are we going to have knee-jerk responses? I've always said, 24-hour rule, right? Viral video pops, it looks crazy. Oh my gosh! All right. I want to know what happened right before. So the kid's shooting a guy. All right. Oh, but then you dial it back a couple of seconds, 30 seconds before, 30 seconds after. Oh, look, they're chasing him. That's why he's pulling out it. Right. You see, so you got to be so careful about this stuff because it's not going away. The surveillance isn't going away. Phones aren't going away. And with everything else that's coming, augmented reality, et cetera, everybody's going to be having these things. And that's going to find its way into politics. It's going to find its way into interpersonal relationships. It's good, with all the people saying, "Oh, I caught you cheating because I saw your face was in somebody else's photo," and it came.
You get caught on the jumbotron.
In the courtroom.
Yeah.
Ty, you had something you were saying.
I was noticing in the chat there were expressions of, well, they should have raised a better kid. Guys, look, if you've got children, you love them no matter what happens. And we're expressing sympathy for the parents just because that is absolutely the most horrific thing that can happen to a parent. We really should never gloat about that. And I know what you're saying, but just remember, I think parents get too much of the credit and too much of the blame for how their kids turn out.
What kid are we talking about?
Hey guys, my phone's blowing up, and I see that Bronco wants to hop back in, so I'm gonna dip. God bless all of you for all the work you're doing. I promise I owe all of you a tweet. Just literally the best coverage out there. Period. Every single one of you.
Jack, anything to sell about anything? Anything?
Yeah,
like,
buddy.
Bed related, sleep related, anything? Final thoughts?
Well, I was going to say that if you're ever in Kenosha and you want to stay at the Stella and you want to go to the 1844 Lounge, that is where you get the best cheese curds in all of Kenosha. Quite frankly, all of Wisconsin, or at least the most of Wisconsin that I've seen. However, once you have them, you might be a little amped up. You might be a little energetic, and you think, "Man, I've got work tomorrow. I've got court. What am I going to do? I've got to see Judge Schrader. He's all hopped up on diet wild cherry sodas. That's what he was drinking today. Diet wild cherry Pepsis. What am I going to do? How am I going to get a good night's sleep?" And it's simple. You just go to mypillow.com. It's right next to Wisconsin. It's right over there in Minnesota. You get the 65% off with promo code POSO, and you get the best night's sleep in the whole wide world. I am going to personally get one of those pillows. and give it to Kyle Rittenhouse.
Jack, can I just point
Yes.
out? Can I just point before you go? I just want to point out. Yesterday, I did this whole grifting moment sort of thing where I was like, look.
Yes, it was only the
raising
one
our
day,
voices
Joe.
Helps,
We love you.
raising our voices helps everyone. You need to follow people like Viva. You need to follow Ron Coleman. You need to follow people like Rich Hogue and myself, so that our voice gets louder. And you should do it for Kyle, because that's why we're here. We're here promoting it to do it for Kyle. So we're urging you, please just click and sign up. And I thought that grift was great, but yours just totally top mine. Totally.
Well, now
top
we
mine.
need to swap Andrew in and have him sell his book right when he gets in. You know.
All right, let's do it.
Just
Let's do it.
complete
God bless, guys. Thank you so much.
See you
Seriously,
later,
I'm honored
Jack. See you
to be
later.
part of
Yep.
history.
Bye.
This is part of history. This is real history. God bless.
See you, buddy. All right, Mr. Bronca.
Is there anyone
Hey,
else who wants to
folks.
get in? I'm gonna
Yep.
tune out and then get back to my house and maybe jump back in. But everyone, good stuff. Nick, you did something great
Sorry.
here.
See,
Yes.
yeah, see you soon, Viva.
See you soon,
See you,
guys.
Viva.
Thanks,
Gotta have
buddy.
some decorum here.
Well, it is a good damn day.
A great day.
Great
this is
day.
a great. This is a historically great day.
Well, and it's relieving in another way. The jury system still works.
At least this one did.
At least this one. Well, you take
Well,
your victories where you
By
find
the
them.
razor's edge, right?
Even in the face of massive prosecutorial, whatever you
Yeah.
want to call
The
it.
horrible,
I mean-
the horrible thing though is, what if there was no video?
Oh, he'd be in jail. That's
And
and I also got to credit Chirafisi. I think that they made tremendous headway with the cross-examination of Grosskreutz. I think that was a major moment there.
I still,
And
masterful cross-examinations by Chirafisi.
Chirafisi's cross of Grosskreutz and, Binger's excellent direct examination of Richie McGinnis. I mean, we cannot overlook.
Actually, Nick, we need to thank both of them for those viral moments, because if those hadn't happened, we probably would not have blown up like we did.
Sure, if should say that. He should say, well, this acquittal wouldn't have been possible without the help of the prosecution.
Yeah, no joke.
Yeah.
Yep.
He should definitely-
Prosecution continually making the case for Kyle. every step
I'd like to
along
thank
the
them
way.
for bringing so many great witnesses for our case.
Now, is there an address where we can send Binger a bottle of Rittenhouse rye?
Oh my God! Look, he's got a case of salt after that, because you know that Binger and Krause were watching the feedback. They were watching the media. I guarantee you they were watching the stream at one point. So you know that they're going to be feeling a little bit hurt. Let's say.
Well, considering how
by
much they
that.
care about their reputations, the jury just called them liars. Said, "No, we agree with the defense. You liars."
Yeah. I just regret we didn't have a Krause can set up for the moment, right?
Think how much time these prosecutors spent as human beings.
Human beings?
Think
I wouldn't say more than 15 minutes.
trying
Technically,
to destroy the life of another human being.
It's contemptible. I mean, they
Going
never
to
had
sleep
anything close
every night,
close to a
waking
case
up
on the merits.
every
and they were trying
morning.
to put this 18-year-old kid in prison in a cage for the rest of his life, no possibility of early release, based on nothing, no legal merit to this case at all.
For what it was,
it's cold
And they
blooded
lied.
too. It's
They
not
got
like
up and
something that's
repeatedly
happening in the
lied.
moment.
They misrepresented the record. They misrepresented the evidence. They misrepresented the law. They
did that.
disregarded ethics rules. They disregarded rulings from the judge. It never occurred to them not to pull out all the stops.
To hit people in the head and doesn't kill them, or the kid who's an absolute sharpshooter who could have mowed down everybody there and only took out the people who were violently attempting to murder him. In other words, who do you want in your society? The guy who's swinging skateboards? The guy who's jump kicking when you're not looking and then running away? The guy who puts his hands up and says, no, don't shoot, and then tries to shoot you? Or the kid who lets you know exactly where he stands, who runs away as far as he can until he's barricaded and turns around and takes care of business? He could have killed everybody there, only shot the people who were actively trying to kill him. What do you want? And what do you want in your life? Women, this is important for you too, in what you want in a man. It's the same thing with men and women, but it's a different. We're not talking about a physical power in the same way. Do you want a man who is so fearful and out of control that swinging a skateboard? Or do you want a man who's able to take care of business whenever he wants and chooses to keep it holstered. That's what we saw. Keep that in mind. Look, most of us here shoot a lot, more than the average bear. I don't think any of us could have accomplished what he did. It is pretty amazing.
Miraculous.
And let's just take a moment to recognize the marksmanship.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly.
Can we?
Yes. Absolutely. And the restraint that he showed. Gosh.
Yes.
I mean, this is like when they pop up a target and it's a woman instead of
exactly. That's what I'm gonna say.
I was like, I would have shot the woman on accident.
It's like one target pops out, it's a woman holding a baby, and the next one pops out, and it's Rosenbaum making out with a baby. You're like,
oh, that's the one. The number of assailants that were running up on him mid shooting,
armed,
and that he looked at, assessed, and then did not shoot.
I know.
Unbelievable.
Amazing. Amazing.
It's I've talked about this with the dogs. It's like I know Pops Cratter was upset at that guy on the steps of the courthouse whose service dog was like tucking tail.
Oh, I know.
I was like, that dog's useless.
Why would you keep an animal like that? Just to feed it?
What's the point?
Oh, come on.
It's giving nothing back. It's returning nothing to its owner.
As opposed to here where we've had, Hopper and Joe Lewis. Token on members, Hopper almost ate Wade. He almost killed him when we were taping
Disgrace to our country, because these are the people that are protecting our everyday lives. Look, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know the stuff. That's why I believe and I want to support. I don't see anything. Okay, so let's talk about that. If you say a life is a life, what about a guy who was recently convicted of raping 13 women and got probation? If a life is a life, let's call it all. If you can call something else out, I'm going to call it all out. Okay? Because that's what it's about. I agree. You raped 13 women and you found guilty, you should be in jail. What conversation? I had a lot of deep conversations. Remember last night you say that kind of everything? With classes that we were talking about? I just want to make sure as I tell you, you know what I mean? It was good. But if you see, here's the point. I'm open. Okay? And at the end of the day, I'm open. If you can, I'm done with feelings. And nobody wants to get mad at me. Well, here's the point. When you were teenagers, when you let your feelings decide the relationship, spend the top 5 teenage issues, I would think so. Okay? So, why would you let your feelings dictate how your life goes? You're not thinking. Because realistically, you need to base your life on facts. I was wondering if I was going to give them facts and change my opinion. I'm all happy to change. But I don't care how you feel about it. I just want facts.
Last minute,
They can, and that's why you don't trust them.
Police have been telling
you don't trust your feelings, you trust facts. Yes, I have feelings, but I can't let it's so simple. I can't let my heart dictate my life. I have to let my mind dictate my life. Does that make sense?
I tried to follow this big strong. I really I'm too far out and I don't know.
Box 6, buddy. You're the man.
I'm happy with the verdict because I was happy to do such a great job done by the judge to open up his book and say, okay, we're reading the statutes. Prosecution, defense, help me out on this one. And they would go through each and every word of the statute. They weren't making up the law on the bench. As it went along, they could read it out of the statute. And that was what made the judge his job here. So great to watch was because he had such an example for other judges and every lawyer and hiring to say this is how the law works. If you don't like the statute, then change the statute. They have to try to say up your statute. Like the Super Bowl or the World Series. There just aren't enough BLM rioters. There just aren't enough rioters to show up here and have accommodations to stay here. I was there were a couple of remember, well, my take on it is this. You say this is speculation, yeah. But my experiences in military service include I was 3 weeks out in Las Vegas on base denial and demolition. And I believe that over my right shoulder, over at the car lot, I believe that somebody who knew with forethought how to destroy parts of the car and smash the windows out of the cars and then ignited everyone's cars because you can't get all those cars burned without smashing out the windows. I think there really was a bunch of rioters. And when you look at what the judge said, the crowd was loud and there was some party. And the judge where are you guys from? This is the courthouse. Under attack. This was not loud and arson. This was a riot. I'm just, I can't provide it's in the history books and video log and everybody had their time here to set up the cameras. Do you think absolutely. I think that I think this case did the Second Amendment, but everybody in many other parts of the country wanted to see happen, which was that people could, be assured that they would be defended by the judge in the case of defending themselves. In the case of the prosecution and the prosecutor's office, you just don't see the prosecutor's office at odds with the police and the sheriff's department like this case. I mean, the police are definitely, want to protect property, want to protect others and themselves, and it seemed like the prosecution did everything they could to prosecute Kyle Rittenhouse when he seemed to be doing that. I'm Greens, Chicago Greens, West Virginia. Oh,
20 plus years. I got a wife and 3 kids.
Stop fighting. Stop fighting.
Since you're doing background checks, you want to know what? You want to know? No, I'm a pothead, so go fuck yourself.
You see somebody start yelling, everybody run all over them.
This is my people. So what's a criminal then? If you're accused of 40, if you've been found guilty of 45 crimes, you're not a criminal?
Are you a sex offender?
That's a crime. That's not a crime.
45 felonies is too many to be inciting violence. You should go home, man.
You want to make those accusations?
Sir.
Oh man, I don't like this shit. I don't like this woman here is calling me a sex offender. That's called lies. Go ahead and do a background check. I've been married for 20 plus years. I got a wife and 3 kids.
Stop fighting. Stop fighting.
Since you're doing background checks, you want to know what? No, I'm a pothead, so go fuck yourself.
You see somebody start yelling, everybody run all over them.
This is my people.
right, we need a pad for the rescue squad. We need a pad for the ambulance. Try to go to white. Everybody back up. We need a pad.
Where's the husband at? Where's the husband at? Cut the camera off! Where's the husband at?
What? That's what I'm saying. Anybody want to take the rest.
You're on the side. Shit,
Get on your side. Get on our side. Do not let her run us. How about somebody get her in the car? Guys, I don't want to say. Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. Hey, can we lift her up and get her in the car? No. Right now. Okay. Guys, please. Nick away.
Let me get room. We got an ambulance coming. Where's Kyle?
Right here. Let's put her in the elevator. Please loosen her. Please loosen her, man. That's stupid.
You need to get her.
Come on down. They have to get back up. Get an ambulance and it's all right. Push right here.
They've got it here. This is just me. They're not going to split this a little wider. Make a hallway for that. Yeah. I'm trying to see if I He just said he got EMT. He agreed to medic. Why are they allowed to? You an EMT. They didn't come here. Where's the fucking ambulance? You an EMT. Go in there. Why is he an EMT? He is an EMT. He an EMT. You just said it. He works for you. He an EMT. He's a EMT. You on the same side. Why are you security? He just said he an EMT.
There's an EMT. I know the police don't know how to do shit. Let the EMT through. Let the EMT through. What the fuck? You're gonna watch the truth and die?
He's an EMT.
Let the EMT through.
What can y'all do? Not shit.
Yeah, you guys don't know what to do, so let the EMT through.
He has all the people. on the minute.
He's an EMT. He the only
Look, he's having
He's so much and they won't let the EMT through.
Somebody out here got water?
Brennan, do you have water?
What? I don't have water.
Does anyone have water?
Here.
Water.
What do you have to do for seizure? I know, but still just let them out on the
Ma'am, let the EMT through. What the fuck? What the actual fuck? Let that EMT through. Let that EMT through.
You're making this worse.
She's also an EMT. You're making this worse. She has to go through this.
Two minutes should be good.
Hey, get another layer under her legs. Oh, but the EMT don't know. He can't do shit. Her second risk right now is also hypothermia. You can look at him. Bro, I'm just giving her warning. What the fuck? You are here to protect us.
Here, take the phone.
Yeah, thank you so much, man.
We're good. Where's your man? Scooter. We're pushing them through. The problem is everyone's cars are blocking.
Guys, the minutes are here. You're just on the street. Guys, the minutes are there. Woman who was on the step, passionate about
Disgusting! 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 No ethics, no moral. Disgusting!
No, you're good. Thank you.
That is disgusting.
We got slaves out here, y'all. We got slaves out here right now. Right here, right here. Hey, why do you think everybody's left it? Fuck Joe Biden. Fuck Joe Biden. Fuck Joe Biden. Fuck Donald Trump. And fuck Kyle Rittenhouse. No, fuck Joe Biden. I ain't on it right. I ain't doing no coding. That's that little right-wing code shit. Fuck Joe Biden. Yeah, this is what they look. They come up with this shit. That ain't the left. I don't give a fuck about Joe Biden, bro. Fuck Joe Biden. You just said anybody lost his phone? That ain't the left. Yeah. Joe Biden ain't the left. Joe Biden ain't the left. Joe Biden's on the right. This shit was 170 years ago. Completely different lines. I said it's not what I would like, it's what they need to do is their duty. It don't matter what I like. This is an objective duty, not a subjective idea. You need to read. What the fuck are they supposed to do? Why are you asking me what police are supposed to do? I'm not the chief. You know what they're supposed to do. No, it's not about, there's no subjectivity. There's an objective duty, motherfucker. It don't matter what I like. I don't like the motherfucker. They not doing anything right, man. And they did actually they don't protect you. The numbers are getting real numbers. I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I grew up 3 blocks away from Minnesota. St. Paul, Minnesota, the population of black people is only 13%, but a black man is 13 times more likely to be killed by the
Is this worse than the divide? Is
The law says a motherfucker got stopped out here for having a gun within 1,000 miles of her school. Y'all motherfuckers need education. Y'all need education before y'all bring y'all ass out here. That's why y'all don't get it. That's why y'all don't get it. That's why motherfuckers don't stay mad. I'm gonna tell y'all right now.
Goddamn bitches. Fuck you. Possible that it would be sorry. Get four-sided sometimes. They're hard ass. Sorry. Sorry about that.
Everybody had it. What do you think they came down here for? What do you think they came down here to shoot some motherfucker about it? Same shit. Trayvon Martin is what color? So, in the civil rights movement, did not white people get killed as well? Okay then. Okay then. It don't matter that he was white, that was out here on behalf of black people. The motherfucker watched riots and said, if I have my gun, I'll shoot them. Yes, he came down here to kill motherfuckers. Yes. Yes. Whoever the fuck was doing it, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about buildings. I don't give a fuck about buildings. As long as the people, when it's a state-sanctioned murder, you get your right. Shut the fuck up, bro. You get your right when it's a state-sanctioned murder. What was the American Revolution? When the state killed a shoot a nigga 7 times. Name one time in history that's always voting. Don't call it voting. You always got a different word for the same shit. Reading Shaw, you're not right on 14. You motherfuckers flag to start this other country. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Fuck you, man. That was what the Antifa race war animals on the Antifa was we're saying like Antifa shit. You don't even know who the fuck is Antifa, right? I'm saying y'all call every black person. This is the crazy part. Anybody black that's in the streets is BLM. Or anybody white that's wearing is Antifa. Y'all worried about the same shit. Y'all worried about the wrong shit. Y'all worried about the wrong shit. Ain't nobody out here shouting Antifa. Ain't nobody out here got a fucking car just say they're calling Black Lives Matter. These are fucking citizens and residents and black people who fed up with this shit. That's what the fuck this is. And fuck these buildings. Fuck these buildings. You motherfuckers, these same motherfuckers trying to destroy the motherfucking January 6th.
Hey, Scott, we're gonna head out.
Well, you gonna tell them which building to burn down. You gonna tell them. You gonna need them to tell them what building to burn down. You can't say you don't like Ryan or turn this shit up and you say what they should have burned down. I'm saying so.
Fuck that motherfucker. All of them.
Join the fucking Proud Boys. Join these militia ass groups. They y'all worried about Antifa? Come on, man. Antifa. No, they're not. Get it off. No, they're not. I am What are you going to do?
You do this, boy. Black people. I own a house. Go up there with the racist. Go over there with the racist. You racist.
You can't even keep this name straight. Shit, you. Don't worry about it. Look at my I was out here protesting. Shut the fuck up, bro.
Oh shit. Come on, bro.
Exactly what?
Came down. We just finished walking with the girlfriend and the great aunt of Anthony Huber, Susan Hughes, and Hannah Giddings. They really didn't have much to say. There was a lot of emotion that they had inside of the courtroom. They took some time together, and then they were ushered out of the courthouse and walked to their car, just crushed by people locally and nationally as well. Let me just walk over.
Hi.
Hey, I'm with Fox Milwaukee. We're live now. Can I just borrow you really quick?
Yeah, of course.
I want to know. I'm live, by the way. Sorry, so just want to let you know. David Hancock, with the spokesperson for Kyle Rittenhouse and his family. You were sitting next to Wendy Rittenhouse as the verdict came in. What was her reaction? What was your reaction to that verdict?
One of relief. It's been a long road, and so we believe that was the right verdict, and we believe that the length of time was the jury being very careful in reading the instructions and looking over the evidence. But look, there's no spiking of football. There's two people did lose their lives. There was a lot of things that infected this case, like politics, that sent it off the rails really early on. And so there are no winners. I mean, Kyle now gets to live his life as a free young man, an innocent young man, which he is. But at the end of the day, I mean, there are no winners. I believe this is a inflection point for this country that we should try to bridge the divide right now, and we should try to come together, right? This is a moment that I think the country can use to get united, to try to get united, to have conversations, to sit across the table.
Have you talked to Kyle at all?
Not
since the verdict came?
No. They left immediately. They went out the back door for security reasons. We wanted to get him off site. So,
what's next for him?
College. He can be an 18-year-old young man. He's studying prerequisites at Arizona State University and for nursing, and he's going to continue that. And we're going to do everything we can to make sure he can live as normal of a life moving forward as possible. But I think you're going to see some good things that come out of Kyle in the future, because he's a very, very pragmatic young man, right? That's been through a lot. And there's so many pieces of this case that touch every issue in modern day contemporary politics, right? But at the end of the day, this case was always about self-defense and nothing else. It wasn't about politics. It was not about race. It was a case about, did he defend himself when attacked? And he absolutely did, and thank God that the jury came to that conclusion. But look, I'll say it again. There are no winners in this, but this is an opportunity to have some discussions that I think should be had.
And David Haycock, Channel 12 in Milwaukee here, ABC. We're live as well, and I just want to introduce you to our viewers. You've been with the Rittenhouse family this whole time, and I was in the courtroom and I saw you, Wendy, really kind of held on to your arm tightly. What did you feel from her in that moment when they read the verdict?
Relief. I mean, a year and some odd months of just having her son be defamed, for lack of a better term, but just be assaulted with just untrue things and comments and assumptions. And she knows what's in Kyle's heart and what's in his head, as do I. Since I picked him up on November 20th, I know, and everybody in that room, all his family know the kind of person Kyle is. And so to get the verdict was just, I mean, I'm still trying to kind of reconcile it all in my head right now, but she knows her son is going to be coming home, and she knows her son will always be coming home now, right? So, and he's been judged to be innocent. He's not guilty of what has... So, I'm kind of bumbling too, but...
And
yeah.
Did you see his reaction at all? You almost could kind of hear him hit the table. His knees maybe buckling. Did you catch that at all?
It's been a long... Yeah, it's been a long road. It's been a long road. And I'm proud of him. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of the family for staying strong. God bless Mark and Corey. The defense team just nailed it. But to that point, I think there's some issues that need to be looked at in terms of the prosecution and the things that they did, what they attempted, and hopefully that will be looked into in the coming months.
It's always risky to put the defendant.
There was never a doubt.
He was always going to take the stand. Do you think that
wanted to take the stand? Sorry to cut you off, but he always wanted to take the stand. because he wanted to tell his story,
Very happy.
what he experienced, how he
We're
felt.
happy that the jury took the time, put in an incredible amount of effort. There were times we doubted the case. There were times we were confident. And to say that we were relieved would be a gross misunderstatement. And Kyle is not here. He's on his way home. He wants to get on with his life. He has a huge sense of relief for what the jury did to him today. He wishes none of this would have ever happened. But as he said when he testified, he did not start this. And we're thankful in more ways than one that the jury finally got to hear the true story. And when I say the media, I'm talking about social media and things like that, the story that came out from the beginning was not the true story. And that was something that we had to work to overcome in court. And we think we did that.
Good camera work.
No doubt. I never predict how long a jury is going to be out, but it was the longest jury deliberation I've ever been a part of. I had an 18-hour and a 17-hour. In one was a federal and one was a state case. It was torture. And this might sound like a small thing, but the judge wanted us to be within 10 minutes. Obviously, my office isn't within 10 minutes. So we had to sit in that room on the 3rd floor, and it was hell.
What did you talk about the decision to put Kyle on the stand? Was that a close call for you? Do you think that makes a difference in the case?
You want the truth?
Yeah.
Someone hold
Kyle
down.
You can't handle
it.
the
Wasn't
truth.
a close call. At certain points, we wondered whether we would put him on. We did. We had a mock jury, and we did 2 different juries, one with him testifying, one without him testifying. It was substantially better when he testified, I mean, to a marked degree, and that sealed it. But in Wisconsin, if you don't put a client on the stand, you're going to lose, period.
What do you see?
Okay. All right, I'll give him the point for that.
There were a lot. I mean, I think it's at the beginning, but when Attorney Binger gave his opening statement and said those things that Kyle chased Rosenbaum down, I don't know where that came from to this day. It was ridiculous. And that gave me something to really show and argue to a jury that this isn't fair. It's not a game. And I think that was huge. Corey, my co-counsel, and I stress the word co-counsel, he was not a second chair, was incredible. We fought over who got to cross-examine Gage Grosskowitz. He won.
Glad. Very glad.
That seems like a good thing.
Paper, rock, scissors.
Second Amendment, self-defense. What does Kyle, what does your team want this verdict to be remembered for this case?
When I took
Kyle
this
was
case,
innocent, period.
I was hired by the 2 first lawyers. I'm not going to use their names. They wanted to use Kyle for a cause and something that I think was inappropriate. And I don't represent causes. I represent clients. And the only thing that ended up mattering to me was whether he was found not guilty or not.
There you go.
Excellent answer.
It's a very good answer.
I believe that's what he wanted. And I had, I told him
says.
when I first met him, when he was in custody, that if he was looking for somebody to go off on a crusade, I wasn't his lawyer.
Martin, throughout the week, you said, I caught you in between court.
I never talked to you.
That you were nervous, that you didn't know what the heck was going on in that jury room. Looking back on all that time waiting, nearly 27 hours to this afternoon, can you kind of walk me through sort of?
I mean, I expected, we kind of picked amongst ourselves, our wives, our friends, my associates in the building, and I had Tuesday at 4:30, so I was way wrong. Nobody had it going past Thursday. And, there was talk today about whether they were going to deliberate on Saturday. I've never seen a jury and I don't mean this as a slight to them, but they didn't have a lot of questions. We had no information that they ever fought. They were just working through the issues. And, so it was the time that made me nervous. There wasn't any information coming out.
They submitted 5 questions over that whole time. They never asked to rewatch videos, beyond those 5 questions. Was that concerning or puzzling question, for you?
I was afraid.
God, he's such a
of a
Wisconsinian.
compromise. I know it's been reported that we asked for lesser includeds. We objected to all lesser includeds.
No, you didn't.
Kyle was questioned on lesser includeds because he has to be, but that wasn't our wish. That wasn't Kyle's wish.
They agreed to
And
several lesser
we,
includeds.
as time went on, were afraid that there would be some horse trading in the jury room. And that's what really concerned us.
Am I insane, or did they not consent?
Did we miss something?
They consented to several of them. Not all of them, but several of them.
Yeah. Are the two mutually exclusive? Just kidding.
I was a prosecutor. Corey was a prosecutor. And I never went after somebody like they did.
Yes.
And when they put on the Canary brothers, knowing that they were lying, that is a problem. This isn't, as I said in my closing argument, I'm not going to, it's not a game. And you're playing with an 18-year-old kid's life. And they were willing to put those guys on. Detective Howard and Detective Antaramian had both interviewed them, and in their police reports said, "We know you're lying." I can't ask that question when they're on the witness stand of the detective because one witness can't comment on another. So they put them on. They knew they were lying, and that's garbage. And I'm thankful we're never going to have to litigate the issue regarding the drone video, but they kept saying we stipulated to it. We let it in. We agreed to let it in because we saw the quality we were given and the jury couldn't see anything. And then they're saying, well, his first lawyer had it because it was on Tucker Carlson. John Pierce never had that video. We've talked to Fox News. We've talked to Tucker Carlson's show. The video that was on Tucker Carlson's show started right when Rosenbaum threw the bag. It did not start with the part that they showed at the beginning. It's a huge difference. That's what they built their whole case on with that garbage photo. And, maybe you don't expect everything in a trial, ever. And that program that they used and the expert from the crime lab specifically says on the company's blog, artificial intelligence enhancements are not to be used for forensic evidence.
Damn
And they
straight.
did it.
No.
And our research after it, it would have been the subject of a huge motion. We don't have to do it.
This is better than his opening.
Yep.
Oh, it is.
I think
I would have liked to see that huge motion,
environment.
though. I would have liked to see that huge motion.
I don't know that it says. I personally don't like people carrying AR-15s around. There was so much anger and so much fear in Kenosha on August 25th that people did arm themselves. And, we knew from the beginning that if you read that statute correctly, I know everybody thought I was crazy. If you read the statute correctly, he was legal
Not everybody.
in having that firearm.
Some of
And
us
obviously,
thought,
once the
Mark.
evidence came in, the judge threw the charge. They threw the curfew. And those were things that the state wanted to, kind of hang their hat on so they could argue he couldn't be there, he couldn't own the gun.
Look at that trigger discipline. What a moron Binger is.
Thank
Oh,
you.
everything about that picture is wrong.
The surviving victim gave Rose Choice said in an interview in recent days that watching Kyle testify.
You can see how he gets hired.
He
though.
just
I think
called him a
he's more-
surviving victim.
Oh.
I like Richard's passion. I really do.
Yeah, you could see him in the room getting clients, right? He's a little less comfortable in the courtroom.
I
And
like
he's
him better
pushing that-
now than I did before.
Yep.
He's
this is
pushing
a
that
great
Wisconsin
interview.
local thing. The Wisconsin local
If
thing is
Mr.
what he wants.
Grosquitz and some of the other people had let Kyle go to the police, there would only be one individual dead. They referred to him, and I talked about it as an active shooter. Anybody can look up the definition of an active shooter from the FBI, law enforcement. He didn't meet it, but the way that those words are so charged, that's what they used. They wanted to paint him as that. I wish nobody died. I wish I never met Kyle Rittenhouse. And I don't mean that because he was a bad client. I just mean because then this wouldn't have happened.
Whether or not he feels he had to do it, is he remorseful? Does he feel bad about it?
Oh, obviously.
I think he does. We've talked about it. There's been so much talk about whether the tears were genuine.
Don't even bring it up.
All I can say is when we prepared Kyle and we worked on his testimony, there were things we couldn't talk about in my office because it got too emotional and he couldn't handle it. He's in, counseling for PTSD, so he doesn't sleep at night.
He could with a MyPillow promo code.
Remorse, I think, manifests itself some other ways. I don't think he can ever walk out here and say that because of the situation. But I know Kyle Rittenhouse, and I know what he feels.
Mark, along those lines, where does he go from here?
Well, I mean, I think you also saw from the breakdown at the verdict. I mean, it looked similar.
People gave him
has
crap
to get
for
on
not
with
having
his life
lawyers
the best he can.
He was faking
I think
being happy over the
eventually
verdict.
Some anonymity will come back to it.
Looking forward to cell block D. Yeah,
I don't think he'll continue to live in this area. I think it's too dangerous. He's had 24-hour security since this happened. We're thankful that the judge protected his address. Everybody in this case, and when I say that, I mean prosecution, defense. To me, it's scary how many death threats we've had. I was answering my phone on the way back from court in Kenosha. My office isn't that far. After the third death threat, I quit answering the phone.
Mark, what do you say to people who may look at these stories and still think that you have no business being in Kenosha? What do you say to people who are...
He had as much business being there as any of the demonstrators or the rioters.
Good.
That's all I could say. I mean, there's going to be people who will never agree with that statement, but if we all would just mind our own business a little bit, I think we'd all be better off. And it's a hard lesson to learn, but
Couldn't that have been said about Kyle?
it could be. He was asked to be there. He wanted to help the community. And, that's the narrative that the state went with. He shouldn't have been there. He was asked to be there by Nick and Dominic. And the Kandiri brothers wanted security.
And Nick was thinking. What was Nick thinking?
I'm not trying to blame anyone. I wish he had never been separated from Ryan Balch, and we wouldn't be here.
Does he regret coming here to Kenosha?
I don't believe he does. If he had to do it all over again, and you said same thing is going to happen, and life is going to be put in a living hell for a year, and you're going to not know if you're going to be a free man, he would say, I wouldn't go. But we can't undo time.
Mark, the president was just asked about the verdict. He said, I stand by what the jury has to say. The jury system works.
And I'm not laughing at President Biden. What I'm laughing at is...
You should be.
I am.
That's what we're doing.
You should be.
A friend of mine who's a lawyer said, he goes, and him and I had done a big case together 7-8 years ago. And he said, do you think this Rittenhouse is going to be bigger than that case? And I said, I do. And he said, why do you say that? And I said, I've never had a case, and I don't think I ever will, where within 2 days or 3 days of one another, the president and the presidential candidate comment on it. And both of them had such different beliefs. President Biden said some things that I think are so incorrect and untrue. He's not a white supremacist. I'm glad that he at least respects the jury verdict. And if the government had any information regarding his cell phone or anything, that he had been to any of those websites or been online doing that kind of stuff, it would have been introduced in evidence. It wasn't. We were the individuals who released his cell phone, which couldn't be cracked by the FBI because we had nothing to hide.
How is Richards just killing this interview? I mean, he's doing great.
I swear it's a different environment.
What's
It's
that?
a different environment.
I'm a criminal defense attorney.
I'm wondering if he
I
just
don't
does
do
better in
civil
dialogue rather
stuff.
than soliloquy.
Yes.
Sure. Yep.
Yes.
Sure. Yep.
No procedure. No need to object.
Well, he doesn't even. I mean, this
Every
doesn't even,
case
exactly,
is
he doesn't
different,
have the
and every
stiffness of even
case
his
has
closing.
surprises. You know,
This is how you get clients, by the way. You're in.
I learned I
in the
can wait
room
24
right now.
hours for a verdict.
So he clearly gets
Don't
clients.
hire this man. Don't be fooled.
I suspect there will be a fight over that.
He's convincing in the room. I can
you know,
tell you that right
John
now.
Pierce is the person who posted the bond. All of that money was raised
about his
on
client,
behalf of
that's coming
Kyle.
through. That's
This is this is interesting.
Lynn Wood and Fight Back say that they're entitled to it. There was
No.
and when I'm using round numbers, but there was $500,000, I think, that came directly from Wendy Rittenhouse from money she had raised. So there's going to be a fight over that, and I'm just thankful that there will be a fight over that, because if he had lost, it wouldn't have mattered.
Kyle had aspirations to be a first responder. That's still.
He wants to be a nurse.
I'll be following along that fight, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. $1 million is a lot of canteen money.
Mm-hmm. The fact that Linwood thinks they have a claim to it, though, it's like, wow.
Insane. It's insane.
Getting rid of the first two lawyers.
The pivotal
And,
moment was getting rid of
you
the
know,
first
that
two
might
lawyers.
Be a
Ooh.
smart alecky comment, but I mean that.
I mean, he's got a hell of an ego.
He's so oblivious.
I got my best friend Corey to join, who I trust. And to
We
be
hang
able
out
to work
at
with
the
somebody who
beach.
you don't have to check their work. You don't worry
Without
about what they're
shirts.
going to be doing. You give them a project
Yeah,
and it's
a
done
bigger-esque
as
photo.
good or better as you do yourself.
Yeah.
It's priceless.
There's been a lot of commentary on the prosecutor's performance in this case. What would you say being up there with him every day?
You must have got here a little bit late. I've known Tom Binger for a long time.
He's
I
in
knew him
his
when he was a
zone right
civil
now.
lawyer. I'm disappointed with some of the things he did, and I've said why.
Not mad. I'm just
Putting on the
disappointed.
Kandiri brothers when you know they're lying.
There you go.
Changing your prosecution, going with provocation after you say that my client chased him down and shot him in the back. Calling him an active shooter when he's not. You know, justice is done when the truth is reached. And I don't know that it's set up to do that, but a prosecutor is supposed to seek the truth. It's not about winning. And this
Amen.
case
Fair point.
came about.
Very fair point.
And that's probably why it got so personal.
I don't know who this Mark Richards is.
You know,
Exactly.
I've
The
never
real Mark Richards is tied up in the
seen
back room.
so much made of
No,
so
that's what
little.
Binger is right now.
And that's not to pick on you guys or anything like that, but I've tried cases as a prosecutor 100 years ago in front of Judge Schrader. I've tried cases.
I believe
as a
Judge
defense
Schrader was
lawyer,
there 100 years
and him
ago.
and I butted heads
do
as
too.
a defense lawyer. Judge Schrader gives you a fair trial as a defendant. You don't want him to sentence your client. Okay. But in
Flat out
this
called
case,
him out on it.
we were looking for a fair trial.
Was the
And if we
question why
lost,
didn't
we knew what was
it
going to
do a
happen.
bench trial?
So it wouldn't have mattered whether it was that judge or some other judge. He's getting life in prison. So I'd rather have a fair trial. I thought he gave us a fair trial. You know, just, everybody got all crazy about the tumbler. Who cares? That has nothing to do with this. I mean, I've seen the
I
tumbler
like the
used
tumbler.
before. I've seen clerks pull things out and suspicious things happen. Kyle pulled it out. And I'll be real honest. We had every juror scored on a sheet, and we were devastated when those three of the six jurors were separated from the panel because we thought they were three of our strongest jurors, and Kyle pulled their names. So I think it's a good system. You know, I've got a trial in front of him, you know, a big case, and maybe in that one I'll think he's unfair, but he's a fair judge.
He's got to worry about his future.
About rethinking the possibility of live coverage to this extent. Given what you guys have gone through, you know, you mentioned that you guys went through a lot. There were threats made to you. What do you think that should be going forward, setting precedent about?
I don't know about that. You know, I think that I've never done a case that was televised gavel to gavel. I've had cases that have gotten media coverage. I was kind of,
Come on,
I
how
knew
much
this
of this
case
stream
was
did you
big.
watch?
I had no idea it was going to be this big. I mean,
None of
I've
us did,
gotten
buddy.
calls from people I haven't seen in 25 years. It's just bizarre. And I'll never be able to figure out exactly what it is that caused the interest that it did. I don't think it made the attorneys act different. I don't think it made the judge act different. I suspect when everything cools down, if there was another big case in front of Judge Schrader, he'd let the cameras in.
Mark, will Kyle say anything to the crowd? His battery's under now, or you on his behalf? We don't know that there'll be trouble, but there's people gathering by the time we left. More and more people.
Oh, you're going to blame Kyle for not tamping down the protesters?
I don't. The people who are going to end up causing trouble, they don't want to hear from Kyle Rittenhouse.
Obviously.
It's, what, remain calm? I don't think it's that kind of case. I mean, when you want to talk about implications and precedent and things like that, is it ever going to happen again? Is there ever going to be just a total unrest in Kenosha or some other city, and that's going to happen?
Well, yeah, that will happen. But we ever have a perfect self-defense?
I just don't
like this
see
again.
that. It was a case about self-defense, the right to protect oneself from, Mr. Rosenbaum. Don't want to speak ill of the dead, but he wasn't a nice person, and everybody knows why. And a lot of that didn't come in front of the jury. So I don't know that there's any broader implications. I don't want to make it bigger than it is.
A couple politicians in Wisconsin used the word vigilante to refer to your client since the verdict came down. How do you react to that?
Maybe they should have watched the trial.
Ooh.
Amen.
Wow.
That's true, though. I mean, that's a legit answer.
Very true.
Yep.
And they could watch it on Ricada Law on YouTube.
Please mention us during the press conference.
I don't think he's giving you a shout out.
Anything
today.
that's said at this time,
I think Nick might die on
it's kind of
stream if he
meaningless.
hears that in the Wisconsin
We have
accent.
to take it in, reflect on it, and
do you think he's going to thank Darth Crypto?
What's he thanking me for? And I don't mean that it's insincere, but it takes a while to process what happened today. I haven't processed it.
I think the other thing you see with Richards here is
I don't think
the amount of stress brought.
I can't answer that question. If I had to guess, and it would be a guess, I don't think they'll stay in Wisconsin. I got a trial in a week.
Relaxed.
I'm going to take a couple of days off.
Good answer.
His
Got a trial in a
ass
week.
was on the line. His ass was on the
Which
line.
I've missed. Hopefully, I've missed a couple of Badger games because of this trial, and I'm very much. We were afraid we weren't going to get to go because they were going to have them deliberate on Saturday, and I want to see them beat Nebraska.
Guys, such a big dose of Wisconsin.
Yeah,
Yes.
very
Wisconsin.
local.
It's Wisconsin.
This is full cheddar.
Don't be knocking my Big Ten football.
I don't believe that. Yeah, I don't believe that. I mean, there was the questions, and I think I said this to some people yesterday when they asked to call off at 4:00. You could see.
$800 flex card.
Time we got to get straight out. We're hearing from Kyle Rittenhouse's lawyers. Let's listen.
What he feels.
Mark, along those lines, where does he go from here?
He has to get on with his life the best he can. I think eventually some anonymity will come back to it. I don't think he'll continue to live in this area. I think it's too dangerous. He's had 24-hour security since this happened. We're thankful that the judge protected his address. And everybody in this case, and when I say that, I mean prosecution, defense. To me, it's scary how many death threats we've had. You know, I was answering my phone on the way back from court in Kenosha. My office isn't that far. After the third death threat, I quit answering the phone.
And Mark, what do you say to people who may look at this verdict who still think that he had no business being in Kenosha? What do you say to people who are...
He had as much business being there as any of the demonstrators or the rioters. That's all I can say. I mean, there's going to be people who will never agree with that statement, but you know, if we all would just mind our own business a little bit, I think we'd all be better off. And it's a hard lesson to learn, but
Couldn't that have been said about Kyle?
it could be. He was asked to be there. He wanted to help the community, and you know, that's the narrative that the state went with. He shouldn't have been there. He was asked to be there by Nick and Dominic, and the Kandiri brothers wanted security. And, you know, I'm not trying to blame anyone. I wish he had never been separated from Ryan Balch, and we wouldn't be here.
Does he regret coming here to Kenosha?
I don't believe he does. I mean, you know, if he had to do it all over again and you said same thing is going to happen and life is going to be put in a living hell for a year and you're going to not know if you're going to be a free man, he would say, I wouldn't go. But we can't undo time.
Mark, the president was just asked about the verdict. He says, I stand by what the jury has to say. The jury system works. Your response?
And I'm not laughing at President Biden. What I'm laughing at is a friend of mine who's a lawyer said, he goes, and him and I had done a big case together 7-8 years ago. And he said, do you think this Rittenhouse is going to be bigger than that case? And I said, you know, I do. And he said, why do you say that? And I said, I've never had a case, and I don't think I ever will, where within 2 days or 3 days of one another, you know, the president and the presidential candidate comment on it. And both of them had such different beliefs. President Biden said some things that I think are so incorrect and untrue. He's not a white supremacist. I'm glad that he at least respects the jury verdict. And if the government had any information regarding his cell phone or anything, that he had been to any of those websites or been online doing that kind of stuff, it would have been introduced in evidence. It wasn't. We were the individuals who released his cell phone, which couldn't be cracked by the FBI because we had nothing to hide.
For those of us that got here a little bit late, can you just kind of reiterate or go over his reaction immediately after?
No, I'm not doing reruns.
In any civil actions?
What's that?
Do you plan to represent him in civil actions?
I'm a criminal defense attorney. I don't do civil stuff.
You're a veteran criminal defense attorney. Talk about what's the one thing you learned.
Okay, folks, your job is done. And
every case is different, and every case has surprises. You know, hey, I learned I could wait 24 hours for a verdict.
What about what happened to the $2 million bond?
I suspect there will be a fight over that. You know, John Pierce is the person who posted the bond. All of that money was raised on behalf of Kyle. Lynn Wood and Fight Back say that they're entitled to it. There was, and when I'm using round numbers, but there was $500,000, I think, that came directly from Wendy Rittenhouse from money she had raised. So there's going to be a fight over that, and I'm just thankful that there will be a fight over that, because if he had lost, it wouldn't have mattered.
You know, Kyle had aspirations to be a first responder. Is that still...
He wants to be a nurse.
What would you say your biggest takeaway is from this 25-plus hour jury deliberation? What do you think that says?
I need to be more patient.
Now that he has been acquitted, can you look back and point to a pivotal moment that was successful for you, that you think created this outcome?
Getting rid of the first two lawyers. And, you know, that might be a smart alecky comment, but I mean that. And I got my best friend, Corey, to join, who I trust. And to be able to work with somebody who you don't have to check their work You don't worry about what they're going to be doing. You give them a project and it's done as good or better as you do yourself. It's priceless.
There's been a lot of commentary on the prosecutor's performance in this case. What would you say being up there with him every day?
You must have got here a little bit late. I've known Tom Binger for a long time. I knew him when he was a civil lawyer. I'm disappointed with some of the things he did, and I've said why.
Such as what?
Putting on the Kandiri brothers when you know they're lying. Changing your prosecution, going with provocation after you say that my client chased him down and shot him in the back. Calling him an active shooter when he's not. Justice is done when the truth is reached, and I don't know that it's set up to do that, but a prosecutor is supposed to seek the truth. It's not about winning, and this case became about winning, and that's probably why it got so personal.
How about the judge? What do you say about how the judge handled the case?
I've never seen so much made of so little, and that's not to pick on you guys or anything like that, but I've tried cases as a prosecutor 100 years ago in front of Judge Schrader. I've tried cases as a defense lawyer, and him and I butted heads as a defense lawyer. Judge Schrader gives you a fair trial as a defendant. You don't want him to sentence your client, okay? But in this case, we were looking for a fair trial, and if we lost, we knew what was going to happen. So it wouldn't have mattered whether it was that judge or some other judge. He's getting life in prison. So I'd rather have a fair trial. I thought he gave us a fair trial. Everybody got all crazy about the tumbler. Who cares? That has nothing to do with this. I mean, I've seen the tumbler used before. I've seen clerks pull things out and suspicious things happen. Kyle pulled it out. And I'll be real honest. We had every juror scored on a sheet, and we were devastated when those 3 of the 6 jurors were separated from the panel because we thought they were 3 of our strongest jurors, and Kyle pulled their names. So I think it's a good system. I've got a trial in front of him, a big case. And maybe in that one, I'll think he's unfair, but he's a fair judge.
He also said something about, in the future, he plans on rethinking the possibility of live coverage to this extent. Given what you guys have gone through, he mentioned that you guys went through a lot. There were threats made to you. What do you think that should be going forward, setting a precedent about?
I don't know about that. I think that I've never done a case that was televised gavel to gavel. I've had cases that have gotten media coverage. I was kind of, I knew this case was big. I had no idea it was going to be this big. I mean, I've gotten calls from people I haven't seen in 25 years. It's just bizarre. And I'll never be able to figure out exactly what it is that caused the interest that it did. I don't think it made the attorneys act different. I don't think it made the judge act different. I suspect when everything cools down, if there was another big case in front of Judge Schrader, he'd let the cameras in.
Mark, will Kyle say anything to the crowd that's gathering down there now on his behalf? We don't know that there'll be trouble, but there's people gathering. By the time we left, there were more and more people showing up. Do you think anything he might say could make things go better than before?
I don't. The people who are going to end up causing trouble, they don't want to hear from Kyle Rittenhouse. That's, remain calm.
What do you think the wider implications of this verdict are?
I don't think it's that kind of case. I mean, when you want to talk about implications and precedent and things like that, is it ever going to happen again? Is there ever going to be just a total unrest in Kenosha or some other city, and that's going to happen? I just don't see that. It was a case about self-defense, the right to protect oneself from you know, Mr. Rosenbaum, don't want to speak ill of the dead, but he wasn't a nice person, and everybody knows why. And a lot of that didn't come in front of the jury. So I don't know that there's any broader implications. I don't want to make it bigger than it is.
A couple politicians in Wisconsin have used the word vigilante to refer to your client since the verdict came down. How do you react to that?
Maybe they should have watched the trial. Yeah.
I know Kyle Rittenhouse said thank you to you. You said that after the verdict was read. Can you share any more?
From roof to foundation, the damage to your home caused by clogged gutters can be devastating. Leaf Filter will protect.
You know, it's one of those things that anything that's said at this time is kind of meaningless. We have to take it in, reflect on it, and, you know, what's he thanking me for? And I don't mean that it's insincere, but it takes a while to process what happened today. I haven't processed it. I don't think I can't answer that question. If I had to guess, and it would be a guess, I don't think they'll stay in Wisconsin.
What's next for you?
I got a trial in a week. I'm going to take a couple of days off and go to the Badger game tomorrow, which I've missed.
Jump around?
Hopefully. I've missed a couple of Badger games because of this trial, and I'm very much, we were afraid we weren't going to get to go because they were going to have them deliberate on Saturday, and I want to see them beat Nebraska.
Do you have any sense that they agreed to those verdicts much earlier, but maybe just took some extra time to at least leave the impression they really thought through it? It wasn't a quick, sudden decision.
I don't believe that. Yeah, I don't believe that. I mean, there was the questions, and I think I said this to some people yesterday when they asked to call off at 4 o'clock. You could see the tenseness in those people, the jurors, at least I could, or I sensed it, who were entering that room. And, you know, if they wanted to quit early, because I think they were tense. And if there was some early verdict and they were playing all of us for fools, they're great actors and actresses. I don't think that was the case.
What do you think about the amount of time?
I believe so. I have clients from 30 years ago I still talk to. I get one of my oldest favorite clients. He moved out of Racine, moved to Minneapolis. He texted me congratulations. I talk to him once a month. I try to stay in touch with clients who want to stay in touch with me. I like to see him do well, and I hope that Kyle does.
Do you think that they'll keep a low profile?
I hope so.
What do you think the amount of time that the jury took to do this says about how they handled this?
They took it very seriously. As I said, it's the longest jury I've ever had out. Wow. Can I go home?
Go home. Anything else we haven't asked you?
Mark, do you think
We're going to go back to Alexis McAdams. She's got one of the spokespersons